What does it take to keep an oath? Would you be able to fulfill a vow so terrible that you are named after it for the rest of your life? Well, join me as we take a look at the greatest epic of all time. In my opinion, of course, none other than the Mahabharat. This tale has it all: spirituality, mysticism, gods, demons, kings, and warfare. It is truly the Indian Game of Thrones. I could talk about this epic all day, and I honestly try to live my life by it, not only in reverence to the culture, but as a method to learn from the mistakes of famous heroes lost to time. In this video, we will look at the true obsession that these Indian princes had with taking oaths. We will look at two in particular: Grandsire Bhishma, known as the Terrible for the unbelievable oath he took, and Bhima, son of the wind, the most mighty, mace-wielding brother of the renowned Pandavas, who when it came to strength, had no equals. I wanted to show two sides of the oath spectrum: an oath used for complete chaos, blood, and destruction, and one used for the betterment of a loved one, a selfless act of paternal love that will never have an equal. So first, a little backstory. The Mahabharat is one of the two major Sanskrit epics of ancient India, the other being the Ramayana. It tells the story of a great dynastic struggle between two branches of the Kuru family, the Pandavas and the Kauravas, over their motherland Hastinapur, culminating in the epic battle of Kurukshetra. Beyond the war itself, the Mahabharat explores complex themes of duty, dharma, justice, power, fate, and morality. It includes a wide array of characters, legends, and philosophical discussions, most notably the Bhagavad Gita, a dialogue between Prince Arjuna and Lord Krishna that addresses the ethical dilemmas of war and life. The epic is not just a historical or mythological tale, but also a deep reflection on human nature and the consequences of one's choices. Let's start with Prince Bhima, because he swears an oath like he lived his life, violent and loud. Bhima was a man of gigantic appetites. His hunger was never satiated. He was the son of Queen Kunti and the conquering King Pandu, but in reality, he was actually a demigod, son of the god of the wind, brought to life by a mantra or prayer that Kunti had been given before she was married. This prayer allowed her to call upon any god she wanted, but she found out it was a seduction spell, and when Pandu was cursed not to touch his wives ever again, he begged Kunti to give him sons and to call upon his chosen gods. Bhima was one of these children, and he was a mountain of a man, so of course his oath reflects this. In the interest of not going off on a tangent, I will condense the backstory. Bhima had always been fighting with his cousin brothers, the Kauravas, for his whole life, mainly with his rival in strength, the eldest Kaurava's son, Duryodhana, who also happened to be a master of mace warfare and a beast of a man himself. In one of the many instances of injustice throughout the epic, a dice game was held under false pretenses so that the brothers could play and hash out their differences. It is important to note that in the warrior society of ancient India, it was either dice or war. Those two things were taken very seriously, and honor was at stake, so a game could never be refused. This game was a setup, of course, so that the Pandavas would lose their kingdom. By using loaded dice, Shakuni, the conniving uncle of the Kauravas, would seal Pandav fate by causing them to lose everything under the guise of a friendly game. The eldest Pandav brother, named Yudhishthir, was known as a king of truth, the best of men, suited for the throne on every level. But he had one flaw: he must join the club of human beings who could not control their worst impulses, and be a horrible gambler himself. So what came to pass was that the Pandavas indeed lost everything at first, but not without the king of Dharma wagering his entire kingdom, his brothers, and his wife, Draupadi, the most beautiful woman of the time. The Kauravas, headed by Duryodhana, cheered as they deceitfully won the game. This man's ego, being what it was, asked his younger brother Dushasana to go grab Draupadi, who was in seclusion at that time of the month, and drag her by her hair to the court in front of everyone, placing her upon his knee, because she is now their servant girl. This all came to pass along with her attempted disrobing, which was foiled by Krishna, and Bhima, not being able to hold back, let it out. Even though he was technically a slave, he said, "Listen, O warriors of this world, warriors who are long dead, and those who are as yet unborn, I am about to swear an oath which no one before or after me will swear again. I, Pandu's son Bhima, announce that until I drink the blood from Dushasana's chest, I shall not show my face to my ancestors." This oath shattered the court, as everyone sat stunned. Even the Kauravas quaked for the moment. Bhima did indeed fulfill his oath many years later on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, as he tore open his cousin brother's chest, drank the blood, and satiated his thirst for revenge. He also swore that he would avenge Draupadi's insulted hair by taking the fresh blood from the battlefield and giving it to her as a sort of warrior shampoo to wash away the insult of her public disrobing. This is absolutely insane, right? But par for the course in an epic that has no earthly bindings. What could cause this man to take such an oath? We have to understand the man we are dealing with. This man lived to fight. He fought to live, and he did everything that a normal man would do, times 10, and he had the strength to back it up. It was a matter of pride, ego, and a warrior's code that would avenge his wife's insult, whom she shared in marriage between the 5 Pandava brothers. He took an oath and had the fortitude to see it through, but in order to do so, he had to kill 99 of his cousin brothers and bathe in blood from head to toe. This serves as a benchmark of what an oath could do back in ancient India, because even today when we swear on something, for most of us it is just a passing way to be taken seriously, but some still adhere to the old ways, and once a vow is made, death or fulfillment is the only option, and that is exactly how it was in those times. Either fulfill your oath, or be an embarrassment to the warrior caste, a shame on your family's legacy. It is also a matter of belief, because in these epics, when he swears he would not see the faces of his ancestors, this is not a metaphor. The vow is as real as you and I, coming to life on its own, once sworn. Bhima exemplifies what it means to walk the walk and give life to a misrepresented justice, which was really just old-fashioned, good times human vengeance. Now let's move to the opposite end and look at a man who was the backbone of the entire Kuru dynasty, a man who was so loved and respected, but none of that mattered because he would spend his very long life in complete misery, tied to the throne like a servant, protecting the evil it spawned. Bhishma was born as Devavrata, the eldest Kuru's son, the only surviving son of his mother Ganga's murder spree, where she drowned her first 7 babies. His father was king of Hastinapur, King Shantanu. This was a man who was a romantic, and I am so sorry to say it, but he was a simp, pure and simple. He would do anything to have his romantic notions satiated. He fell in love with the river goddess, Ganga herself, and had to do whatever it took to get her. They had a chance encounter, and she told him he should never question her actions, and if he did, she would leave him just like that. He agreed, but when she started drowning every single one of their children, one after the next, he opened his mouth when his 8th child was about to be drowned. Ganga indeed left and took the child with her, but returned him to Shantanu at about 16 years of age. This 8th miracle child was the best among men, gifted in every aspect of warfare, ethics, and knowledge one could be. He was set to succeed his father, and was named Crown Prince of Hastinapur, ready to fulfill his destiny. But it was not to be because Shantanu's eyes wandered again, and he found a fisherman's daughter, named Satavati, whom he fell for, and would do anything to attain. This woman's father saw an opportunity to raise his family to great heights, so he told the king he could not marry his daughter unless her children would sit on the throne. Shantanu refused though, and said that belongs to my son Devavrata. When Bhishma came to find out about all this, he saw the depressed state of his father and wanted to see him happy again, so he went to see this fisherman. After a bit of haggling, Bhishma said he would make sure that he renounced the throne, but that was not good enough. We all know that children present a royal problem throughout history, and the throne is always fought for by brothers and the like. So Bhishma, being the great man he was, only thinking about his father's happiness, made sure that he could ensure the fisherman's grandchildren sat on the throne, and he, nor his progeny ever would. How does he do this? He swears an oath, and maybe does a bit more, taking 2 extra measures, if you catch my drift, in order to ensure there is no doubt. He said, I, Devavrata, son of Ganga, in the presence of all 4 cardinal points, the earth and sky, swear this oath, that I shall remain celibate and never marry. I shall live childless and die childless. This is my eternal oath. What type of man swears such a thing? A man with deep love for his father, who just wants to see him happy, who would deny himself happiness for the chance of giving someone a shot at it. Is he a fool? That is a matter of opinion, because in the end, His oath did not end up doing anything but causing misery and suffering for him and those around him. His father was so depressed about this oath and what he caused his son to do that he withdrew from the world, and Devavrata became known as Bhishma the Terrible for the terrible oath in the name of love. Before his father dies, he gave Bhishma the ability to fulfill his oath and watch over the Kuru dynasty for as long as he wants. He gave him the boon of wishful death, letting him choose the time of his death. This oath also tied him to the throne of Hastinapur as a sort of steward or guardian, watching over it as different kings of his line came and went, and he would not give up his life until he saw his beloved country in the hands of the true king, which ended up being Yudhishthir. This man went through immense suffering, watching death and destruction in his family, as he grew into a very old, but very powerful man. I always wondered, what would have happened if Bhishma would have sat the throne? Well, it would have been a lot better than what actually took place. And he had to watch it all helplessly, taking the side of evil in a war he could have stopped if his oath was not in the way. He became his oath, living it and dying for it, suffering under its enslavement. So, what can we learn from the oaths taken in Mahabharat? We can see that it is very important to think before swearing something you cannot take back. In today's world, if you swear on something, it tends to mean nothing, but back then, it was almost as if the gods tied your fate to the string of your oath, holding you accountable for your words. We can see that an oath is merely your ego cutting loose, and your pride wanting to make a spectacle in the moment. Both of these men were on opposite ends of the spectrum, one for vengeance and one for love, but both of them swore these oaths to protect their families in their own ways. But it is very important to weigh the outcomes and consequences of such actions, because we never know what the ripple effects might be, and what we would be denying ourselves could be the thing that is good for the rest of the world, as in Bhishma's case, if he would have sat the throne. Bhim's oath was a pure man's oath, straight out of anger, caught up in the moment, and for the love of a woman, to wash away her insult with blood. Thank you for watching. I hope this helps bring oath-taking and oath-keeping into perspective, because it is a very rare and amazing thing to be a man of your word, especially nowadays. But the limits we place on ourselves and others by doing so might not be worth it. By locking yourself into something destructive, whatever the cause, sets a tone for failure. And we see that both of these men might have succeeded, finally in their oaths. But all to be said, the suffering and devastation to reach culmination, was it worth it? You decide. I swear.